Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm
Hear
good,
me now?
thanks. Yeah, how are you?
Huh?
How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, I think something wrong with my. You can hear me okay though, yeah?
I can hear you fine.
Because I can't hear my. Okay, hopefully it's fine. Okay, I'll say we'll get started now. I just pressed record there, Orla, so all good. You don't have to remind me this week. So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining. As always, our weekly webinars, just Orla and I today. So, thanks again for your continued support. And we hope to have lots of new suppliers coming over the next few weeks. I was just saying before that there's currently workshops going on virtually. The yearly tour operator meetings they have in Ireland, they normally have them in person in April, but they're having them online this week, obviously because of COVID. So a lot of our team are tied up with that, as are many of the Irish industry. So we hope to have some Irish industry on with us next week. So today we're just going to talk about Orla and I's favorite Ireland trips or FIT experiences we would do if we were doing a week-long trip in Ireland. Just as an update on the situation currently, Orla was following the news closely this morning and told me there was only 6 new cases on the whole island of Ireland yesterday for COVID and no deaths. So that's a very positive sign. And numbers continue to go down. We were due to have an announcement July 20th, which is today, about whether quarantine was going to be lifted or not. It was going to be lifted for a number of countries. However, the new Prime Minister, Micheál Martin, is currently in Brussels. So he has delayed the announcement for a day or two. So later in this week, we should hear, and I'll either post on the Facebook group to let you guys know and send an email in the follow-up if it's tomorrow, or we'll let you know on the webinar next week. But positive signs continue in Ireland, and hopefully that quarantine gets lifted. For Canadians, coach tours in 2020, we don't think, and anyone doing FIT trips like we're going to talk about now, great options still in September, October, or anytime next year in the future. So I just put together a nice 7-night trip of what I would do is if I was a first time visitor to Ireland to really get out and about and explore. So can you still hear me, Orla? It says my internet's a little unstable.
You're
All good?
coming and going slightly.
Okay. Well, sorry about this. I did have a power cut earlier, so if it happens again, Orla, that I have a cut, you just cut me off and you can do your bit while I sort it out.
Okay,
Sound good?
you sound good now anyway, so
Grand.
I'll
Okay.
I'll take
Sorry
over
about
if
that,
I
Orla.
need to.
Yeah, absolutely. So a nice 8-day, 7-night trip. I love Northern Ireland and the Northwest, so that's where I would go if I was doing an 8-day trip. So one night in County Down, then up to the Causeway Coast, over to Donegal, my favourite part of Ireland, then down to Westport and finish off in my hometown of Dublin. So I just did a little bit of artwork here to show you my itinerary. So pick up a car at Dublin Airport, and again, you can customize all the itineraries for our FRT program, whether you're doing chauffeur drive or driving holidays. And I know Orla is going to talk a bit more about the B&B program when we pass it over to her. So I would go exploring County Down, then up to Belfast and the Causeway, then continue up to the most northerly point of Ireland, Malin Head, bit of time in lovely Donegal, then down through Sligo, down to County Mayo, and then back over to Dublin via Galway. You could also do a night or two in Galway, but I always find it's nice to have your last night in Dublin because you don't have a long transfer then to the airport. Or you could have a night down in Limerick if you're flying home out of Shannon, which would normally be via London or the US. There's no direct flights into Shannon currently from Canada, but a really nice option. And then 2 nights finally in Dublin. So County Down, for anyone who was on the webinar with Tracy Jeffrey a few weeks ago, you would see some of that stunning countryside, lots of really wonderful towns and villages with some amazing food, lush green landscapes and rolling hills. So the Mourne Mountains are absolutely amazing. And this is only less than an hour from Dublin Airport. You're in County Down. Strandford Lough, this area was used a lot in the filming of Game of Thrones, so you can visit Westeros and many other attractions that are featured in the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. Also, you get some wonderful oysters in County Down, lots of great seafood, and it really is an amazing place to visit. It's also the home of our patron saint, St. Patrick. So St. Patrick's country is County Down, County Antrim. So Saul Church is a lovely little church. Is actually where St. Patrick gave his first sermon when he was in Ireland, when he first came to Ireland. So a lot of history there. There's about 20 or 30 churches around Ireland called St. Patrick, and a lot of them are in this area. So if people are looking for St. Patrick's Church, you have to ask which one because there's so many of them. Then day two, I would head into Belfast in the morning before going up the stunning Causeway Coastal Route. I like the outdoors, so I would definitely go to the Carrick-a-Rede Rope Bridge, seen here in the picture. So here you can do an amazing walk. It's about a kilometre down to this rope bridge. Walk across the rope bridge and get some stunning views of the Irish Sea and the North Antrim coast. It really is beautiful and well worth a visit. It's a National Trust property as well. So there's a big car park upon arrival. I think it's £3 or £4 to go in. I'm not sure exactly how much now, but well worth it, and lots of really nice walking trails you can do there. Of course, en route to there, I would go into Belfast and explore Titanic Belfast, which I know I talked about a lot last week, but a fantastic visitor attraction. There's also many other great things to see and do in Belfast. I always recommend going to see the murals, the Peace Wall, or doing the Black Taxi Cab tour around the city. Then you can either go to the Giant's Causeway that evening or the next morning. I'd recommend, staying in one of the glens of Antrim along the way. Lots of really great bed and breakfast. You can book through bedandbreakfastireland.com through us, which Orla will talk about a bit more. But this is a must on your trip, the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's about a kilometre walk down to the stones, or you can get the public bus. 40,000 basalt or 1,000 of basalt columns that formed millions of years ago from volcanic eruptions. Or if you believe Irish mythology, they're the footsteps of giant Finn McCool. And there's the sleeping giant mountain just behind where it actually looks like a sleeping giant. So a really wonderful attraction. You're only 5 kilometers from the town of Bushmills here, which is the world's oldest working whiskey distillery, but also a really nice town. The Bushmills Inn, a great hotel option there if you want to stay up there. But bed and breakfasts are a great way to go in this part of the country. Then I'd head towards Derry for a walking tour with Ronan McNamara, who we had on a few weeks ago, if you can get him. If he's not available, there's lots of other companies you can do it with that you can just walk up and book there and then. So there's 3 or 4 really amazing companies that do the guiding there. Ronan, of course, is the best, but all the others are still very good as well. So again, that's a very historic city, really beautiful. And then I would stop there for, a couple of hours, and then I'd head north to Ireland's most northerly point, Malin Head in the Inishowen Peninsula. This was used in the filming of the newest Star Wars. Malin Head's the most northerly point in Ireland. In the Inishowen Peninsula, you can also see the Northern Lights at certain times of the year, and there's just so much to see and do in Donegal, especially if you're outdoorsy. Mount Errigal, you can climb Mount Errigal in about half a day. Go out to the Sleeve Cliffs, which I always talk about, and there's lots of really wonderful towns and villages in northern Donegal, as well as you can go over to Arran Island, which is an island just off the coast of Donegal, not to be confused with the Aran Islands, which is a group of islands a little further south. So day four, I would then come down and stay somewhere around Donegal town, explore the diamond and get out to Sleeve Cliff, seen in the background there, some of the highest sea cliffs in Europe. And then I always talk about Loch Esk Castle, but just over the road, also overlooking Loch Esk, is Harvey's Point. I actually think my granddad might have got married here, but I'm not sure. I think he did. Anyway, it's not a 5 star, even though it looks like one, because they don't have all the facilities required to be a 5 star, but it really is 5 star service and luxury when you're there. All the rooms are huge. I don't know if you'll find a hotel with bigger rooms. The entry level rooms are absolutely huge, bigger than most, suites you would get in some of the 5 star Dublin hotels. And the price point is very reasonable compared to, say, in many of the major cities. So I always recommend, if your clients want to do a night or two more luxurious, I would do it in one of the more obscure areas like Donegal or Mayo or Sligo, or a little outside, a little off the beaten track. So Harvey's Point is about 9 kilometers from the center of Donegal town, and it's absolutely beautiful. Lots of stunning walks and woodland areas you can explore when you're there. Then I'd come down south. I mean, I'm really showing a lot of my character here, very much outdoorsy stuff I'm doing. So Strand Hill, I talked about that a bit a couple of weeks ago. Lovely little town. It's more like a surf town, so lots of people go surfing and do water sports, but it's really nice just to go wandering and walking on the beach, get some ice cream. There's the Voya seaweed bath. This is where home to there, so you can go in and get a spa treatment or just, visit and explore some of the seaweed products. People do foraging experiences here, so forage for seaweed. And there's lots of really great bars and restaurants for lunch, so a great stop along the way. And County Mayo is where W.B. Yeats, sorry, County Sligo is where W.B. Yeats spent a lot of his time when he lived in Ireland. So you can see some of the stunning scenery. Ben Bulben is Ireland's Table Mountain. So a lot of people will go just to visit this beautiful mountain. You can also climb it, but it's really great, and you get stunning views of it as you go through the Sligo countryside. As you continue south, you get to Mayo and down Patrick Head. Again, another hidden gem. It's one of the signature points on the Wild Atlantic Way. They have about 40 signature points all along the way that you can stop. But this one is really off the beaten track. So I did a driving holiday a few years ago with a friend, and we were going from Westport to Donegal, and we decided to put our phone away and just got a map and did it old school and just tried to stick to the coast. And we stumbled upon down Patrick Head. There was no one else there on that day. It was a really nice day in April, so we had the cliffs to ourselves, and it really is an amazing place to visit along the way. So lots of really nice small towns and villages and bed and breakfast you could stay in around there. But I definitely recommend going to Westport either that day or the next day. Westport House is a beautiful historic house that you can explore, and there's lots of activities you can actually do on the grounds of Westport House. Then I'd go into the village, into the town for a lovely dinner. When we stay in Westport on our tours, we normally use the Westport Coast Hotel, which is just a tiny bit outside the town, but really nice down by the bay. So a must visit on your trip to Mayo. You also have Croagh Patrick in the background as well in Westport. So that's another very famous mountain in Ireland. People do a pilgrimage there in their bare feet every July in honor of St. Patrick. And it's also very popular. People go up on Christmas Day too. So really nice if you have a free day to do that. Then you can't go to the West Coast without visiting Galway. So I definitely recommend visiting Galway, and I know Orla talked a bit about Shop Street and some of the wonderful things to do there when you're on a trip. But of course, try to get to a bit of Connemara as well. Kylemore Abbey is absolutely stunning, still run by Benedictine nuns who came to Ireland many years ago, and a really wonderful attraction, great for a picnic. So a lot of people will come on a driving holiday with their sandwiches, or a sandwich they might have picked up or made, and then they go have a picnic, have a lovely tour of Kylemore Abbey, and just take in the breathtaking scenery. Then, of course, you can't visit Ireland, I don't think, without visiting Dublin for at least a day. So I would just, arrive late afternoon, early evening, and explore the city. This is the Halfpenny Bridge. It's called the Halfpenny Bridge because you used to have to pay half a penny to cross it. So that's not the case anymore. But a really nice attraction, and it kind of separates the north side of the city from the south side. So that's the River Liffey you can see underneath it. And on the south side, you're entering the Temple Bar district, and on the north side, you're entering, Jervis Street and Henry Street, which is a great shopping area. So that's a must. And then, a lot of people, if you're going to visit Ireland once, you want to go to a whiskey distillery or perhaps the Guinness Storehouse when you're there. That was me in January, pouring the perfect pint in the Guinness Storehouse. And that's Connor and I. We were at the Trad Music Festival in Dublin in January as well. So even in end of January, Temple Bar is buzzing district. If you're not into drinking and nightlife, great to explore during the day, but in the evening, it's very much about the bar scene and the live traditional Irish music. And I would always recommend just a three-star hotel in Dublin, unless your clients really want higher end accommodation. There are some lovely three stars. We generally use Cassidy's or Buzzwell's if we're doing a three-star option. Lots of great 4 and 5 star options like the Marion, the Shelburne, the Westin if you're looking for 5 star. 4 star options, we generally use the Camden Court or the Gresham mainly. But there are a wide variety of hotels. Dublin is a little pricier, so if you are looking for a luxurious stay, I would recommend doing them in some of the more obscure areas outside the major cities. Galway, Dublin, Cork, and Killarney are going to be quite expensive. So if you're doing a nice 5 star stay, somewhere like Donegal or Connemara are great options as well. So what did you think of that? Orla, would you like to do that itinerary?
Yes, you definitely convinced me to, even though I knew it was somewhere I wanted to go to, but it's a perfect itinerary to follow. Really, really nice. And it's nice to
Yeah.
know the hidden gems along the way as well. Because as
We'll
everybody
have people
knows,
vote on whose itinerary is better after they
yeah,
see yours.
yes, we should. So this itinerary is a little different in that I don't have Dublin in it. I would love to have it in it, but when I go places, I really only go back to the accommodation to sleep. I have thrown in some B&Bs, some hotels, and a 5-star as well. So the good thing about kind of the fact that we customize anything is it can be dependent on a budget. It could be all B&Bs, or it can be a complete variety as well. So I'll just share my presentation here. Okay, so mine is starting, of course, in Dublin. First night will be Kilkenny, then heading south 2 nights to Kinsale, lovely fishing village. 2 nights Killarney, 1 night Spanish Point, and 1 night Galway. So this itinerary would be perfect if you were flying in and out of Shannon. Like Jonathan mentioned, there isn't a direct flight. So it would be probably better to have a night at the end of Dublin. But of course, we were trying to only base it on a 7-night itinerary. So this would work for me because I don't mind kind of squeezing a lot in. But of course, if it's a little bit too much for clients, you can have that night at Dublin at the end, which most people will do anyway. They would kind of spend a couple of nights in Dublin unless they had been to Ireland and let's say it's their second time. So first of all, just as I mentioned with the customization, so we're very happy and our colleagues are in the office as well in reservations to put together an itinerary for anybody, but there is just a couple of things that would help us out an awful lot when we're creating these itineraries for you and for the clients. So just things that would kind of help us along the way, in that some rates we do already have in our system, some of them we have to send away to our Dublin office. So with the time difference and everything, it can take a couple of days. So if we do have already these kind of steps in place, it'll just make things a little quicker for us. So you can kind of suss out like a budget that the clients have, the type of accommodations that they want, like if they're very specific or if they would like a mix. The hot spots then, or the must-sees. So it doesn't need to be down to a T like everything. It could just be, okay, they have to see Galway City and they have to see the Giant's Causeway. Then we would say within a week, it's highly unlikely that they're going to get to go down south, or vice versa if they were talking about the National Park in Killarney. So things like that would kind of help us. And of course, the number of nights as well. So that way, if one of the itineraries that we already have created doesn't really work for you, or for the clients, it can very easily be changed and put together. And I know I recommend people too quite a bit if they're looking to, maybe if they like one of our coach tours or one of the sightseeing tours, you could follow that by car as well, because those are itineraries that are tried and tested as well, and you can just follow those too. So there's lots and lots of wonderful itineraries for people to follow. And I know it is very difficult to try and pick one itinerary, but for me, this would be what I would do. So obviously flying into Dublin, so it's about an hour down to Glendalough in the Wicklow Mountains. So you can just see absolutely stunning views, again, down in the south and down in the east, as well as up in the north in Donegal and places where Jonathan showed us. So this Glendalough then is renowned, it's a monastic settlement. They've got a round tower there, and they've got gorgeous walks, and the round tower is in the picture there on the right. But there's plenty of walks and plenty of places for hikes. But even if you just stop in, take in a bit of the fresh air, some of the views, and stop in a place somewhere along the way for lunch. So when I was there, we stopped at the Wicklow Heather was what it was called. So it was right in the middle of Glendalough, and just very, very peaceful, very relaxing, no highways, you know, smaller roads. So take your time, and of course you can get an automatic car if you don't want the manual one, which would definitely help in case you have any animals along the road. So then moving from Dublin, we're heading towards Kilkenny. So that's our first night. So I would give a couple of hours in Kilkenny in the evening, just because I think it's a stunning town. It's really, really nice. There's lots and lots of B&B options available all over Ireland. And on the next slide, I'll show you kind of how the B&B program works. So if you did want a B&B or a hotel option, there's some fabulous properties. Now this is Kilkenny Castle, so you can't actually stay in this one, but I would highly recommend a visit and a tour. And then you have St. Mary's Cathedral, which is here on the right. And for anybody who is a Smithwick's drinker, so Smithwick's was created in Kilkenny, and you can actually take a tour of the distillery as well. So this would be, or the brewery, this would be a great one for any sort of day that was, maybe the weather wasn't great. You could kind of just come through the Wicklow Mountains and then take a tour here as well. But the town is very, very small and compact, like many of the towns in Ireland, in the rural areas, that you can just spend a couple of hours strolling around, find somewhere nice to eat. A really, really lovely little town. So for anybody who has used the B&B program, and I know there's a number of you on who have, we will give you the link. You can go in yourself, or your clients can go in, and you just type in the town or the area that you want, and then the arrival date and the number of nights and the number of guests. And you can see there already. Now that was for today, that's why it says no arrival date, because I just looked at it this morning to put it in for you. It's live availability, which is great as well. So you can kind of pick whichever sort of property. You get the different ratings, so they're all Fáilte Ireland approved, so they're all approved by the tourism board, but other guests have actually put specific comments and kind of reviews as well, so you can check them and see what it is, kind of what style you're looking for. So they also have started doing these themed bed and breakfasts, so it's just at the top of the page on a drop down box. So if you had like a family, or if you had somebody who wanted to stay on a farm or go fishing or go canoeing or something, you can pick a specific B&B towards that as well. So it's a really nice way to kind of, they've got all the hard work done for you, and you don't need to see, is it a good one, is it a bad one? They're all fantastic properties, and they have all been vetted to be on this program, which is great, very handy for you and for us. So that, just to mention, it is a voucher program. So basically you just reserve online, you do put in your credit card details. That's just like as if you were checking into a hotel. Nothing would be charged unless it's a no-show, and then we provide the voucher which you use in exchange for your night there. So it's very, very seamless, very easy to do. Some people would even do this and pre-book their first and their last night and just wing it after that. So if it was high season, obviously we wouldn't recommend that, but you can check live availability, and if you're open to just seeing what's around, then you can certainly do that as well. Okay, so on to day 2. So we're moving from Kilkenny down to Kinsale tonight, but we're going to go by Tipperary. So we've got the gorgeous Rock of Cashel, which is it's actually very close. It's only about 50 minutes. It's 2 hours total from Kilkenny down to Kinsale. So it's 50 minutes to get to our first stop, which is the Rock of Cashel. So this is a lovely little place to stop off, take a tour of the ruins. It's the Cashel of the Kings is what it's known as. So it's a very, very popular destination to stop off and check up on. And then about 20 minutes away, you've got Clare Castle. So we do mention this quite a bit. We have it on our Shamrock Royal coach tour. So it's a gorgeous castle that you can take a tour of, but it's very well maintained, and the guided tours inside are absolutely fabulous. So I would highly recommend these two as your stops along the way. And then stop off for lunch. I mean, you can stop off, probably in Clare would be a lovely place to stop, or just keep going to Kinsale and spend the evening there. So if anyone has got a chance to go there, it's just a gorgeous, colourful little place. Very, very buzzing, and certainly got a very, very high standard of food, seafood mostly, but really, really wide variety. And of course we use, you can do a walking tour here as well. So we do use that on some of our tours, so you can slot that in as well to your driving holiday, which is a really nice way to kind of get the locals' knowledge in telling you where's the best spots to eat and to get something to drink as well. So we're going to overnight then in a B&B here as well. So there will be some on the outskirts. B&Bs don't tend to be in the town, but you can be lucky with some of the smaller rural towns. They might have something, you know, a 5-minute walk or a 10-minute walk, which is lovely, because I think it's very important to get the local knowledge for what to do maybe on that night. There might be you know, the Buzzin pub might be only 5 minutes down the road, or it might be a little further, and it's great for them to let you know what time to go to certain attractions and all of that. So the local knowledge is very, very helpful and very important. But you've got the Kinsale Museum as well that you can check out. There's 2 forts, James Fort and the Charles Fort as well. So then on day 3, I would still check out a little bit of Kinsale and have a lazy morning, but head to Gary Lucas Beach. So there's lots of similarities I see between mine and Jonathan's itinerary with some of the outdoor things. But I think mine has lots of castles and ruins, just because in the south and the west there are so many. But this is a lovely beach to go to. It's a fabulous place if you do want to go for a swim, which is very popular, but you can just go for a stroll as well. But definitely check out Old Head. So there is a golf course here, but there is a looped walk that you can do also. Now it's very, very close to Kinsale. It's only about a 30-minute drive, if even that. So it's very close. You could go for an hour or 2 for a hike, and then head back into Kinsale as well, or you can go on a little bit further to Mizzen Head. So Jonathan spoke about Malin Head, which is the most northerly point, and then Mizzen Head is the most southerly point on the Wild Atlantic Way as well. So you can check out there too. It's kind of dependent on the weather, I suppose. If you're getting a really nice day, you'll want to probably sit on the beach, and if it's not the best, you'll want to keep going and see as much as you can as well. So we've got our second night then was in Kinsale as well. So the next morning then we are going to head to Killarney, but we're going to go a very, very scenic route. So you can go to Bantry first, and then to Kinmare, and then on to Kilkenny, or to Killarney, sorry, I'm getting all confused now, on to Killarney. But that might be a little bit too much of a drive, so I would just stick with heading to Kinmare first. A lovely little town, stop off for even just a cup of coffee, a little stroll around. Bantry is very much known for its mussels as well, so if there's seafood fanatics who are going, that would be a great place to stop off to try. But Kinsale then to Kinmare, it's only about an hour and a half, so it's not far at all. And then once you go from Kinmare on towards Mull's Gap, which you see on the picture here on the left, and then on to Muckross as well. So gorgeous scenes through Killarney National Park as you're coming into the town of Killarney itself. And then Muckross, you've got Muckross House and Muckross Gardens, which is here on the left, which is only, it's about a 20-minute, I suppose, or if even no, it's probably about 10 into Killarney itself, where I would spend 2 nights then at the Drumhall Hotel. So this is a fancy hotel, a little bit more expensive than some of the other properties. But again, you could do, let's say, a hotel in Kinsale and then do 2 nights B&B in Killarney. So it is very much interchangeable. And there's lots of bars and lots of, you know, buzz on the evenings and the nights in Killarney, and the views of the lake too are gorgeous. So there is plenty to do in the town itself once you arrive here. You could even take in the jaunting car ride in Killarney around the national park. So you could either do that on the evening of day 4 or the morning of day 5, either or. I'd say it would depend on how tired you were at this point. So you've been on the go quite a bit. But I like to see as much as you can when you're in a place, and then once I'm home, then I'll relax. So I think it's the excitement that keeps me going. So on the next day then, on day 5, it's about an hour's drive to the Dingle Peninsula and to Dingle itself. So Dingle is a gorgeous little town. A lot of people would try and do all of the Killarney, Ring of Kerry and the Dingle Peninsula, which is a lot. So that's why I've kind of brought you through the national park to Killarney, and now we'll check out the Dingle Peninsula and kind of spend your day here. So as you can just see, it's just gorgeous views and absolutely stunning landscapes. And definitely take in a whiskey distillery. So we've got the Dingle Whiskey Distillery, but they also do gin and they also do vodka as well. So that's something nice to kind of, as Jonathan mentioned, you need to kind of take in one of these distilleries on your way. There are lots of cider breweries that are close by too, if that's something that your clients prefer. So just showing that there's a variety of different attractions to be seen, and mostly scenic, I guess, on my one. So overnight then again in the Drumhall. And then we're going to have a lazy morning, because we'll assume that you've had a great time in Killarney the night before. So you're only heading to Adair Village, Adair Manor to just have a look, and then Bunratty Castle today on day 6. So it's about an hour and 20 minutes to Adair Village. So you can see the beautiful little thatched houses here on the left, a very quaint little town, and of course Adair Manor as well. So if you wanted to stop in and had your afternoon tea pre-booked, this would be a very nice thing to do on the way. And then about a 25-minute drive up north, slightly a little bit more north, we've got Bunratty Castle. So Bunratty Castle, it's a folk park as well, so you can go in and get a tour. And I have mentioned it before, but it's a lovely place to go. There's a lady in her old Irish clothes, and she's making, you know, homemade bread over the fire, and there's hens and chickens running around. They've got the wolfhounds in the field as well. It's just a lovely little place to go, and it's great for families as well, or for, you know, for adults too. I went here last Christmas. They're open almost all year round, and it's just a lovely, well-maintained place with a little coffee shop as well. And if you can read, the little bar and restaurant there is Dirty Nelly's, so it's very, very famous. I'm sure a lot of you have been there or have heard of it. So if this place isn't too busy, I would stop here for dinner for sure. But if it is a little bit too crazy, depending on the time of the year that you're going, you can stop off in a little town called Ennis. So it's the top and the bottom picture there. Very small little place, great spots for shopping, and lots of very, very, you know, very, very fine restaurants. Variety of different ones as well, but very, very high quality. And then we're heading on to Spanish Point, so right on the coast again for the Armada Hotel. So that's the property we see there beside Spanish Point Beach. So this is a gorgeous setting, very popular for weddings, and you would understand why, because it's right there by the Atlantic Ocean, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. There isn't much in the town at all. So if you really do get a chance to just experience the beach and go for a stroll and have a quiet pint in the pub and some really, really good food. They've gotten awards last year for their standard of food, so they're well up to scratch and a lovely place to stay. So then day 7, so we've had that one night in Spanish Point. We're heading towards Galway now, and most people know the Cliffs of Moher from doing the tour by bus, and you park in the car park and you've got the visitor centre. But we would use this boat tour on our Irish Twist coach tour, and there is a combination of 2 tickets. So you do get the boat ride around the cliffs, but a day tour to the Aran Islands. So Jonathan had mentioned the Aran Island, but this is the Aran Islands. So there are 3 of them that are inhabitable. So you would take an hour and a little bit to do the tour of the cliffs by boat from Doolin. You just park your car in the car park and off you go for the day. And then go to either Inishir or Inishmore. That's Inishir there on the left, and it's got the shipwreck you can see in the background. But hire bikes, or you can walk it. They're very, very walkable little islands, but just gorgeous to either bring a picnic or have some fresh fish and chips there. There's a jaunting car ride that you can take around the island. Just really, really nice setting, and just stunning, and very, very quiet as well. So we would have mentioned a while back about people who speak Irish and the Gaeltacht. So most people would only speak Irish here on the Aran Islands. And that's a little clip then of Doolin. So you could have your dinner here if you liked on your way back from your trip, or you can just head all the way up to Galway. So it's about an hour and a half to get up as far as Glenlow Abbey from the cliffs. So this is a gorgeous 5-star property. It's an old manor house, but it is just outside Galway city as well. So if you did want to stop in Galway for your dinner, you could, and then just head out to this hotel as well. But it does have a golf course. It's got lots of activities like all of these manors and castles have. So falconry and clay shooting and walks and everything. So you'd really want to take advantage in the evening of strolling around this property as well. So really, really lovely place. So that is the end of my itinerary. So you can take a breath, because we did a lot in 7 days. But like I said, people would probably take this itinerary if they had been to Ireland before and they had seen Dublin. I would throw on a night or 2 in Dublin at the end. But it is only probably a 2.5 hour drive from here back to the airport. So if somebody was up for doing that, then it's totally possible as well. So it's just trying to squeeze a lot in to a 7 and an 8 day, but without you spending so much time in your car that you can't enjoy it. So I think Jonathan has some trivia, but also if you want to let us know which itinerary you would prefer to do.
Mine, of course.
Of course.
Thanks, Orla. That was great. I've actually never been to Glenlow Abbey. Have you stayed there before? Just visited?
No, I've just visited, but they have, and I never mentioned it, they actually have 2 original carriages from the Orient Express where you can actually sit and eat a very, very fancy meal. They've got two AA Rosette restaurant there, so I would definitely go there. I mean, it's very high end,
Nice.
but
Yeah,
lovely.
very nice, very nice. Okay, so who's ready for some trivia? I hope everyone's been studying Ireland for the last few months with us, so you'll be able to answer all the questions. I know people are on Facebook too, so in order to answer, if you're on the Zoom call, just type in the chat or the question box, type your answers. It's not fastest finger or anything, but we'll give you about 30 seconds to get it in before we move to the next question. And same with people on Facebook, just type it into under the video, and we're going to pick a few winners after. We have lots of great prizes. We'll give a bottle of Irish whiskey, or actually no, maybe we'll give a bottle of Irish gin for the winner. And then we have a few little guidebooks and gift cards to give away. So we'll give at least one gift for each prize, but if you answer lots of the questions, you have a better chance of winning the grand prize. So let's get started. The first one now is not multiple choice, but most of them are. So I hope you get the first one right because it's about Orla. What county is Orla from? And to give you a hint now, she did go there and stay there on one of her itinerary nights at Spanish Point. Ennis, is Ennis the county town, is it? Of that particular county, Orla? Oh, you're on mute, but I heard you say yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll give you about 20 or 30 seconds.
Do people not
People
hear
always
my
say,
very strong Cork accent, no?
yeah. Well, I'm from Dublin, so I sound a bit better than Orla. No, joking. A bit different to Orla. So people
Thank you.
always say, if you're from the country in Ireland, you have a stronger accent. But I mean, for Canadians, you probably think I have a strong accent as well. Right, we'll go on to the next question. Lots of answers came in there. Who wrote the Book of Kells? Was it W.B. Yeats? Was it Irish monks? Or was it the British monarchy? So it's one of the oldest books in the world, and it's on display in Trinity College in Dublin. So a really nice visit. I know Pat Liddy was talking about it last week, and he was talking about the iconic library there at Trinity College too. So a must visit on your Dublin trip. You go in, I think it's about €8 to go entrance into the Book of Kells. I always recommend going early because it does get very busy. You can now, I'd imagine you're going to be able to start pre-booking it, but normally it's first come, first served, and it's really nice to wander around Trinity College. So who wrote the Book of Kells? Next question. What is the most northerly point in Ireland? So I know Orla talked about, oh, this is multiple choice as well, sorry. Orla talked about the most southerly point. I mentioned up at the Inishowen Peninsula, the most northerly point. So that might be a slight hint for you, but throw your answer in there. So it's about 9 hours from the very most northerly point of Ireland to the very most southerly point. So it just shows how small Ireland is. But if you wanted to do north and south, like I kind of focused on the north and all of the south, if you want to do both, you really need at least 10 days, I would say. Our Shamrock Royal is a 2 week itinerary that takes in a lot of it, but if you're doing a driving holiday, you could probably do it in 10 or 11 days. Right, next question. What is the Irish word for welcome? We'll give you some options as well. One of those three is not an Irish word. It's quite obvious. So, 50% chance of getting it right.
Make sure as well, Jonathan, to give the answers at the end, just so people know.
Don't worry, I have all the answers after. So, Thought it'd be easier to do it this way and get the answers at the end.
Yes,
What did we do the last time? I actually think we gave the answers as we went, did we?
I think so, but that's
Can't
a
remember.
good idea at the end. It's not very long, so yeah. Yeah, but we did the
Yeah.
method.
Grand. Next question. Which of these actors is not Irish? I bet you this one will catch a lot of people out. So Pierce Brosnan, Colin Farrell, Jared Butler, or Liam Neeson? Do you know the answer to this one, Orla?
I think so. I won't give my.
The non-Irish person has played an Irish character in a movie, so I think that might confuse a lot of people here. But full marks if we get it right. We'll definitely pick a winner from this question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how many pubs are there in Dublin? Orla found this out. I didn't actually know there were that many. So
What do you
how many
think
pubs
now?
are there in Ireland? To give you an idea, in Dingle, which is a small town, I believe there are 41 pubs in that small town. So, our Dublin would have a lot more than that, of course. But we do love a pub around the island of Ireland. So how many pubs are there in Dublin? I'll give you another 10 seconds or so, and then we'll go through the answers. I think that's the end of the questions. Oh yeah, so I'll go through the answers now. What county are you from, Orla?
From County Clare. So most people got it.
Oh, very good. That's good. Congratulations, anyone who got that. County Clare. What's the nickname for Clare?
The
Is there
Banner
like
County.
a something county?
The
Oh, the
Banner.
Banner County, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And who wrote the Book of Kells? Well, of course, it wasn't W.B. Yeats because, it's a few thousand years old and he was around in the 20th century. And the British monarchy, unfortunately, or fortunately, did not do it either. It was Irish monks is the correct answer. So it was actually monks that would have settled in the town of Kells, which is in County Meath. So that's why it's called the Book of Kells, but they would originally come from Iona and further afield and settled in the town of Kells when they wrote the Book of Kells. But it's one of the oldest intact books in the world and one of the few that old that are on display and you can go visit. So it's really amazing. See? What is the most northerly point in Ireland? Well, Dingle Peninsula is the most westerly. Mizen Head is the most southerly, and of course Malin Head is the most northerly point. So it's the very north tip of Donegal, just beside the Inishowen Peninsula. Dingle Peninsula, there's a small strand, I can't remember the exact name of it, just about 10 kilometers from Dingle. That's the most westerly point on the mainland. And then Mizen Head is the most southerly point in West Cork. What is the Irish word for welcome? Well, it's not willkommen, that's German. Sláinte means cheers or your health. So Fáilte is the correct answer. So Fáilte Ireland are the tourist board based in the island of Ireland. So that kind of just means welcome Ireland. It's basically the name. So you always hear Céad Míle Fáilte as well, which means 100,000 welcomes. So you always get a Céad Míle Fáilte when you're in Ireland. And which of these actors is not Irish? So a lot of people will get confused. Liam Neeson, of course, is from Northern Ireland. Colin Farrell's from Dublin. Pierce Brosnan is American Irish. So did he grow up in Ireland, Orla? I'm not sure, but he has Irish parents anyway.
Yeah.
Former James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Jared Butler is Scottish. But in P.S. I Love You, he plays an Irishman. So people always think Jared Butler is from Ireland, but he is in fact from Scotland.
Somebody just said there, hang on just one second, I saw it, that he's from, I think it was Darlene, she said that Pierce Brosnan is from Navan.
Ah, okay, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that, yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Well done, Darlene. And how many pubs are there in Dublin? So there's not quite 1,200. There's not as little as 222. There's actually 751, according to Orla's Google search.
Which is still a lot.
Where did you get this fact from? Yeah, I know.
Well,
Well, yeah,
it was straight from
definitely,
Dublin.
I mean, there's probably over 100 in Temple Bar alone. Um, so there's lots of really amazing pubs and a lot of more popular ones. But of these 751, probably 200 of them have live music most nights. There's a lot of like old Victorian style pubs and a lot of really historic pubs like the Brazen Head's over 800 years old and things like that. So lots of amazing pubs when you're in Ireland. So anyway, we're going to pick lots of winners. We'll go through the Facebook feed and the question and answers from this. So thank you everyone for playing and for your continued loyalty and support of Royal Irish. And next week we're just finalising who we're going to have on. We will have some Irish industry on next week, and in a few weeks' time we're going to get Stephen from Visit Wales on again, and maybe try to get a partner in Wales on as well. But if anyone else has any other requests of anything they'd like us to cover, we will continue these weekly for the next while at least, because they're quite enjoyable and we're all learning a little as we go. So until we meet again next week, hopefully, Joe O'Connor there in the picture. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep in touch. And thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Orla, as always.
Yeah, and thank you everybody as well for joining. The word we learned, sláinte.
Sláinte. I see a few people are asking, can we do what we did today for Scotland as well? Of course we
Yeah,
can. So we'll try that in a few weeks, and we might try get the tourist board on as well, and they might be able to give us one of their itineraries too. So yeah, we'll definitely do that in the future. So thanks everyone. Orla, can you
lovely week.
extract the chat?